3 months ago, I completely gave up on Arsenal Football Club because when I saw that absolutely abysmal transfer window where Arsenal have not bought in a single player, I thought to myself, these guys gave up, so I should give up too. But then football is weird. There's a lot of ups and downs, lefts and rights. It's a complete roller coaster. And to see Arsenal do very well in the Champions League as far. Yes, Arsenal are 1-0 down to PSG, but they're still in it. And to see the performance against Real Madrid, it was really magical to put in the least. But to come back to the Champions League, and as well as Arsenal are doing in the Champions League, it does not mean that you completely throw away all the other competitions that are there. And I'm talking about the Premier League, and I'm also talking about Arsenal 1, Bournemouth 2, to be 1-0 up and concede 2 goals and essentially lose out the game is absolutely ridiculous. And there's been so many games that I've seen Arsenal literally throw away when they're in winning positions, and I just don't get it. I don't know why or how after so many years that we're not able to see out games, or we just don't get rid of teams or thrash teams and then just call it a day. I really don't understand. Ever since we lost to Newcastle in the semi-finals of the EFL Cup, we beat Leicester 2-0, we lost to West Ham 1-0 at home due to a red card, but that's not an excuse. Nottingham Forest, we drew against Manchester United, the worst Manchester United team in God knows how long. We beat Chelsea, we beat Fulham, we drew against Everton away from home, which was another team we should have beaten. We drew against Brentford, and we also drew against Crystal Palace, a team that we've beaten 5-1 at their ground, or we scored 5 goals against them. I don't even remember at this stage because I'm completely just lost my head. And now Arsenal have lost 2-1 to Bournemouth at home. So a lot of these games since the Newcastle loss, a lot of these games have been at home, and there's been a lot of games that Arsenal should have put away. I haven't seen any one of those games where I'm like, you know what, we should comfortably beat them 3-0, 4-0, because these are performances where essentially when you beat a team by that margin, then you don't need to worry about whether or not the team comes back, because when you score 3-4 goals against anybody, which I know Arsenal can do because 2 seasons ago in 22-23 we've been doing that, then I honestly don't know why Arsenal just haven't been able to essentially kill off teams. Yes, there's a lot of injuries. Yes, there's a lot of problems going on in terms of however many players being out and this and that. But when I looked at that team on the field yesterday against Bournemouth, I looked at that and I said, you know what, that's enough to beat them. We played the strongest team and they still lost. And it gives big questions. What the hell is going to happen when we go to PSG? You do think those guys are going to sit back and just let Arsenal come at them? No. Those players are going to come at Arsenal because they're at home, the crowd will be with them, and they're going to try and score more goals because that is the level of attack they have. Kavichi Kvaratskhelia is a really darn good player. Dembele has been fantastic for them, and they got other players like Barcola and Desiree Doué, who is absolutely phenomenal, and a player that PSG are extremely lucky to have. When I see him, he just reminds me of a very young, dare I say, Cristiano Ronaldo when he first popped onto the scene. Just his little physique and some of the step overs he does. But I'm not going to say he's going to be the next Cristiano Ronaldo, but there were some things about him that sort of reminded me of him. But we have to look at some of the players that were playing, and we have to have big conversations about Martin Ødegaard. Yes, he's had injuries. Yes, there's talks about him having a potential operation at the end of the season for his foot. But my God, he's just been absolutely dross this entire season. If we were to look at the season, then in the Premier League, he's only scored 2 goals and 7 assists. That's not good enough. 2 goals in 27 games. He's played a hell of a lot of games. People are thinking that Martin Ødegaard was gone for a long period of time, and he was, but he's played 27 games, and we have 3 games left, and 3 of them are against Liverpool at Anfield, Newcastle at home, and Southampton. And Arsenal need 4 points to get ahead to the Champions League places, and that's the crazy thing about it. Arsenal are second, but they could easily come out of it, of the Champions League places, which is crazy. Yes, Liverpool won the league. They won by 20 points very comfortably, which is another bad thing in itself, but that does not mean that you put all your eggs in one basket and just completely disregard the other competitions, because this is what happened with Unai Emery, where he tried to focus on the Europa League, and then lo and behold in Baku, I don't need to tell you what happened over there, but history doesn't lie about what happened. Anyhow, with Martin Ødegaard, it just seems like he's scared to shoot. It seems like whenever he's on the ball and he gets at the edge of the box, he's always looking for Saka to make that run and do that chip pass or try and pass it. But as the leader of the football club, I need more goals. I need him to shoot the ball more. And he just seems like he's scared to shoot, to put power on his foot or something. And that has been very, very alarming. And that causes more conversations about the level of rotation in this team and why there aren't other players that can come in and essentially do something ahead of Martin Ødegaard. That's why people have been begging for Ethan Nwaneri to come on, because the difference between Nwaneri and Ødegaard is that when Nwaneri gets into that position outside the box, he tries to shoot. And as a player, you want them to do different things. You don't want them doing the same old balls, same old dribbles. You need them to change it up, be a bit unpredictable at times. Because if you keep things too structured, and if you don't allow that little bit of randomness to come in the final third, then other teams will suss you out. And that's what's happened with Iraola. It's happened with Eddie Howe. People know how to play against Arsenal because Mikel Arteta has been here for X amount of seasons now, and people are figuring it out essentially. And for Bournemouth to have the double over Arsenal, for Arsenal to be 1-0 up and then lose by 2 goals, with Ødegaard literally losing his man in that corner and to get brushed off, bullied essentially, and just with Bournemouth to get the double, it's not good. It's not good at all. And that's why a lot of people have been praising Iraola, especially with Bournemouth getting 8th, which is very good, by the way. I didn't expect them to get 8th, and they could easily be challenging for one of the Europa League places. So fair credit to them, and see what they do. If they get there, then kudos to them. But I think with Arsenal, just with some of the players, and to see that Arsenal went with their strongest 11, it really gives alarm bells. Alarm bells are ringing, essentially. And it makes me wonder what the hell's going to happen when Arsenal go to the Parc des Princes, because it's going to be a different atmosphere. We don't know what's going to happen over there. Hopefully Arsenal win the Champions League or get to the final. But this is why we need to talk about standards. This club, this team, needs to have the standards to go for every competition. Just because you're in the finals or the potential to get into the final of the Champions League doesn't mean you throw away all the other competitions. And if Arsenal continue the way that they are, they can easily drop points against Liverpool, drop points against Newcastle, and then Southampton, you know. And let's just say Arsenal get 3rd or 4th and make a meal out of those 3 games. That's still not going to be a good season. And with Mikel Arteta, there's going to be even more questions. Now look, I don't want to be the person to criticize the manager. I want to be behind the team and support them and really back them when they go to the Parc des Princes and really put on a show, because I want Arsenal to win the Champions League. But we're going to have these discussions about Mikel Arteta, because the added pressure is that Tottenham and Manchester United are potentially going to be in the final of the Europa League. One of them's going to win it, and if one of them do win it, hopefully it's Manchester United, because I don't want Tottenham to win it, then it's going to cause so much havoc, where they have been so poor, both of those teams this season, and they're going to walk away with the trophy, and we're not. And that in itself is a disaster in its own way. So I'm hopeful that we can do something against PSG, because it's only 1-0, but there needs to be standards at this football club, and it's just not been good enough. And with Mikel Arteta, I'm sick and tired of seeing him do substitutions at the 85th minute. If you can clearly see that Ødegaard isn't doing enough, or some of the other players aren't doing enough on the pitch, whether it's Trossard, Martinelli, Saka, whoever, then make the substitutions earlier, because you need to rotate. Yes, you went with your strongest 11, but if they weren't doing anything, and you're probably going to need them already against PSG, then bring on the Nwaneris, the Sterlings, the Zinchenkos. I know you have injuries, but if we're looking in this entire season, and we'll probably get to that point in the end, no one really cares anymore, because even though a lot of things have gone against Arsenal's way, whether it's referee decisions or injuries or suspensions or whatever it is, we can look at that team that played today and say, yeah, you know what, you have enough to go out and beat some of these teams, whether it's the Evertons, the Bournemouths, the Brentfords. These are teams that Arsenal should have put away, and for them to not do that is literally put them in a horrible position as of now. So yeah, not good at all. But I'm happy to be back after 3 months. I lost faith, but you know what? It's good to talk about Arsenal. It's good to talk about some of the things that have been going on, and hopefully let's just see what Arsenal do against PSG. Another poor game in the Premier League, but it's made it quite exciting, which really it didn't need to be. Anyhow, that's me. I'm out.